Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another Big Gold Bell movie review brought to you from the Toronto International Film Festival. Now, this here is not only possibly the biggest film on the festival, but definitely one of the biggest films that's going to come out in the second half of this year. And this is called Wake Up Dead Man, A Knives Out Mystery. And here's a quick synopsis. Detective Benoit Blanc shifts through a series of suspects when a Monsieur turns up dead. And this is also, again, directed by Rian Johnson. It stars as Benoit Blanc, Daniel Craig. It stars Josh O'Connell. It stars Glenn Close. It stars Josh Brolin. It stars Mila Kunis. It stars Jeffrey Renner. It stars Kerry Washington. It stars Adam Scott. It stars Daryl McCormick and Thomas Hayden Church. It's a lot of a cast here, but if you are accustomed to a Knives Out film, you understand the grand scope of the cast that you're going to get in these type of movies. The first thing I'll say is a lot of people did not like Knives Out Glass Onion. It was a film that just felt overly bloated, especially compared to the original Knives Out, which was a runaway hit. And it's the reason why we're getting all these really good to great films here. The first thing I tell you is from the beginning of Wake Up Dead Man, you kind of understand that you're back into what you loved about Knives Out 1. As we're introduced from the beginning of Josh O'Connell, who is a priest who has anger issues, and he ends up punching someone in his face, and he ends up having to sit amongst a board of priests, which also the main person on the board that he sits among is Jeffrey Wright, and it's played by Jeffrey Wright, which is just great that you can get Jeffrey Wright in this film in an extremely small role, but you can get him in this film to do that part. Once it's deemed that he needs to go to a smaller parish in a small town to help this very crazy father and his shrinking congregation, that's when the mystery kicks up, and that's when we are introduced to Josh Brolin and the litany of the rest of the remaining cast, as all of them are in this small town. And this is where we get to see Josh Brolin possibly have more fun than I've seen him have in a movie in recent memory as this insane monsieur, pastor, father. There's so many different titles that are thrown at him, but just know he's absolutely ridiculous in it, and he is the crux of what sets up this Knives Out mystery. And one of the most enjoyable elements of this film is that we go the first 30 minutes or so without Benoit Blanc even coming on the scene, as we're at this point getting the backstory to exactly why this becomes a Knives Out mystery. I thought that was a brilliant move, especially coming from Glass Onion, where it felt like everything was thrown in your face from the beginning. Here, it's slow walk to show you exactly the importance of this mystery. And we get to see, again, this is what a monster ends up dying in. That's the crux of the Knives Out mystery. And that is when we lose Josh Brolin. And there's no spoilers here because that's what you know. This is the part of it that makes it a Knives Out mystery here. And the moment Benoit Blanc comes onto the scene, it feels like a breath of fresh air away from Knives Out 2, where you're getting these actors put on masterful performances, and mainly led by Daniel Craig and Josh O'Connell and Glenn Close. These are the three actors that lead this to being a masterful whodunit type of film here. I think this is what Rian Johnson possibly pictured all of his Knives Out films being, of just a continuing plot and a continuing story of one character, very reminiscent of the Agatha Christie novels in the way that this film moves, and even in the tongue-in-cheekness of the way everything is shown on screen. It is a joke pulled off by Jeffrey Renner's character, I think it was in this film, where he says, oh no, it's Adam Scott's character who says, like, now we're part of a Benoit Blanc mystery. Next thing you'll know, we'll end up in a horrible Netflix adaptation of this all. It feels so tongue-in-cheek at times, and I think that's when you can have the most fun with Knives Out. Also, it's going through the mystery of finding out exactly what's going on. It is a huge backstory that I don't want to reveal any of it, because I think that is what makes this movie so great, is that backstory, and it's the setup of the premise of why this becomes a Knives Out mystery that you have to sit through and watch and thoroughly enjoy. But just understand, Rian Johnson is a director here, masterful. in the way this film moves. This film is paced well, it's written well. It just feels like we're back to what you loved from Knives Out 1, along with some killer performances. Now, by the time we do get to the third act, it doesn't wear thin, but you kind of possibly understand who the big reveal killer could possibly be by the time that you get to the third act. But then they throw a twist in that makes it more than worth it and completely throws you off and kind of changes your perception of the film and what you watched. And that is what makes this possibly the best Knives Out film that we have had released, along with Daniel Craig, who now feels like he has just comfortably slid into this Benoit Blanc role here. He is great in this role. And again, with the rest of the supporting cast, which is also amazing in this film, whether it be Thomas Hayden, who plays Glenn Close's character's husband in the film, and the way that moves and the way this works and the way that we take a small town church and turn it into this big mystery about everything that can possibly happen here. I think that's what makes this version of Knives Out, again, so much better than the second one. And I think you have to focus on that because we have to fully understand just how disconnected the audience felt from Knives Out 2, from Knives Out 1. And here with Wake Up Dead Man, we just get a mystery that's going to keep you guessing until you get to the very end of it. And then even when you get to the end of it, Rain throws another twist in there that's going to completely blow your mind here. And again, kudos again to the supporting cast in this film here. They are what keeps this story going. Daryl McCormick, who plays this Republican, right-wing Black man who's doing everything to manipulate the world into voting for him, is one of the funniest characters humanly possible. At times, this film does feel politically charged with some of the jokes that they make about leaders in certain parties and how they present themselves, and how Josh Brolin character, the Mansoor, is extremely right-wing and extremely mean to a lot of people. And that is a joke made that, hey, if we get more money behind you, you never know, you'll probably be president. Like, it's those tongue-in-cheek jokes that makes this film so much fun to watch. But Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery brought to you from the Toronto International Film Festival. Out of a possible 10, I am going to give Wake Up Dead Man a 9.5 out of 10. This is the quintessential murder mystery, Knives Out mystery that you've been waiting for. This is almost perfect as a film. It is fun, it is enjoyable, it is thrilling, it has moments that will truly catch you completely off guard here. I think once you get into these Knives Out mysteries, once you get into mysteries in general, what the audience is looking for is to be surprised. And Knives Out 3 manages to perfectly set up the surprise. And then when it gives you one huge surprise, it turns around and puts you right back in a completely different direction that garners just as much surprise as it did the first time. And I think that's what makes this film quite possibly the best film of this year. But check it out when it drops. Let us know what you think. This has been another Big Gold Belt movie review brought to you from the Toronto International Film Festival. Peace, people.